Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Rio Grande. It's a wonderful day. It's a wonderful week here on our campus. I would say it's arguably one of the most exciting and the busiest weeks of the year on our campus. We are preparing for our commencement exercises. Those will be this Saturday, May the 7th at 1 o'clock. So if you're listening or watching us and would like to join us, we are definitely hoping and praying in every sense of the word for sunshine. Definitely not rain, but we do have a beautiful ceremony planned, outdoor ceremony. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The campus looks fabulous right now. So if you haven't visited us lately, we invite you to come to campus and just soak up everything that we have to offer here. And the graduation ceremonies on Saturday will be just something definitely to be remembered. We are really pleased to have one of our alums as our speaker, Megan Wise. Megan is Miss Ohio, USA. And Megan will be joining us, and I know she will have really a lot of inspirational words to share, and she's just such a beautiful person inside and out, and we're excited to hear her. Megan, she's a graduate of the University of Rio Grande, and she is a teacher in Meigs County. She lives in Rio Grande, and we're very proud of her, and like I said, very much looking forward to the message that she has to bring to our graduates and all of our guests that will be here on Saturday. I am really excited to have a phenomenal guest here today. My friend, a leader in the community, a pioneer in so many ways. I have personally just been blessed and so thankful to be able to get to know Marianne Campbell. And Marianne is here, and we're just so delighted to have you.
And I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Yes, I have been looking forward to this so very much. And I've found that you have such a fascinating life, and it inspires me when we talk, because the way you share your story and the things that have happened, it's always so beautiful, and I just leave feeling so much better every time.
Oh, well, thank you. That's so gracious of you.
I really think that that's going to be the same case for our listeners and our viewers today. They're going to feel like $1,000,000 when we finish this show. And I just wanted to start. I mean, there are just so many bases we could cover, but let's start with the fact that you were born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And somehow you were led to Gallia County, Ohio, and there were some things probably that led you here and then kept you here. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'll tell you what led and what kept.
Okay.
What led me here, the first day of my junior year in college, I lost my father, and my mother's family were descendants of the original settlers here, of the French 500, who came in 1790. Wow. So my grandparents owned a large farm just south of town on the Ohio River, and my mother was an only child. And so when my father passed away, my mother moved back to Gallipolis. But I was a dorm student at the Pennsylvania College for Women, so I completed my education, and then I came back to be here. I have to say, those first 3 months and so forth that I was here, we were still very provincial here. We did not have the Tiger Creek plant had not come in. There were no new plants coming in. It was, everybody had their own little group, and I didn't know anyone. My mother knew everyone because she'd gone to school with them, and all of her friends were still here. But I didn't. But then I was very fortunate. From the end of June I graduated. 21st of October I met my husband. End of story. Stayed in Gallipolis.
Kept you here, right?
Kept me here. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, there are so many hats that you wear and so many great things that you're involved in. And one of those that I've learned about is your work with the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, I love it.
You just bring so much to that, and I just see you everywhere and your touch on everything that happens with the Chamber and the great group of people that you work with there.
Oh, they are phenomenal. They have been. After I retired, so to speak, the 1st of September 2002, That was on Friday. On Monday morning, I became a full-time volunteer at the Chamber of Commerce. So I've been there now 14 years almost.
Wow.
And I love it. I treat it as if it were a paid job. In other words, I go in on time. I keep the same hours as the staff. The staff are outstanding. They work so hard. And this keeps me involved in the community. I know what's going on. I can take part in it. And the key to being happy is being involved.
Oh, right. That's such a good point. And I think about some of the things you guys have going on.
Oh,
and
yes.
I just want to give you a minute to plug some of those things because I know
this
there's a
Friday,
lot.
This Friday, 9:30 in the morning at the Boston Memorial Library in their beautiful riverfront room, we will be doing our legislative day. So we will have people coming from federal, state, and local elected officials. They'll make their little 5-minute presentation, and then at the end, the people there will have the chance to ask questions. And this is one of the things that the Chamber is very interested in, serving the community and doing what is going to help the people here and help build us back, keep us going. And so that's coming up this Friday.
That's really exciting. Well, I hope that you'll have a great turnout.
And it's
for
open
that.
to the public. That's
Good.
very important.
Good. Okay, that's great
That's
to know.
very important.
You also, I've had the privilege of being on your show, Talk of the Town.
Yes.
That's
I
a
love
wonderful
that.
radio program.
Well, of course, I started in radio here back in June of 1950 when we put WJEH on the air. So as I said, I've been going in and out of that driveway for soon be 66 years.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's exciting.
When I was there for 17 years, and then I had this marvelous offer from Avco Broadcasting Corporation a company had never had a woman to be the head of community affairs for a group of stations. And they had 12, 7 radio and 5 TV, running coast to coast from Washington, D.C. to San Francisco. And so John E. Halliday is the one who made this all possible for me to do that. You know, who's going to let a 23-year-old girl start a radio station? But it all worked out. I was there the 17 years, and then he said, you can't pass up this opportunity. And it was. So I was in Cincinnati, being flown back and forth to Gallipolis for 5 years until Avco sold. But during that time, this is what I was doing.
Wow.
And it was wonderful.
Oh, I bet it was exciting work.
Yes, it was. So then I came back, and when I came back then, it's like every time I've had a job, somebody's offered me one, which is really fantastic.
That is.
And this is almost unbelievable, but on Friday, the corporate group, the executive corporate group, was called into the office, and our president told us that they were selling the corporation and that they would try to place us in jobs. We could go to some of the stations, but all stations would be sold, all 12. So I come home Friday evening and I tell Bill, what am I going to do? What was in Gallipolis? The next morning, I had a phone call and a visit and asked me if I'd be interested in coming to Holzer Hospital, which is what Holzer Medical Center became at that time, and as their development vice president.
Wow.
And of course I said, well, we'll think about it, because this was a secret. We were not to let anyone know except our spouse about the sale, because none of this would happen for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yes.
but anyway, and then
Wow.
I spent 31 and a half years at Holzer.
Gosh. That's
So it's been
exciting.
very, but I could use all of my broadcasting background at
In that
Holzer.
work. Oh, absolutely. It's
Because
so
I was doing the
transferable.
media, the public relations, the marketing, and it all fit. Everything just,
Fit
my
together.
life has been blessed, and I'm very grateful.
Well, on your radio show, you have such a variety of guests. It's
Yes.
just you never know who's going to be on this
That's
show.
what I love about it.
Yeah, tell us about a few of your recent guests or upcoming guests.
All right, well,
that-
this morning, just this morning, I interviewed the young man on emergency service from the Gallia County Health Department.
Okay.
All right. And then yesterday, well, let's see, I have the list here. This is better to do that because there's so many of them, I can't,
Oh yeah.
and you just keep going. I had, let's see, let me get this very last one here. Oh, You talked about you're going to have Megan Wise.
Yes.
I had Miss USA on a week or two ago. Always have Ray Fowler, the Maestro of Ohio Valley Symphony on. He takes part in it.
Good.
Carrie Swain Davison from Holzer once a month. And yesterday I had the sheriff on, and he talked about Operation Dry Water, which is safety in boating. We have Gal Police in Bloom talking about that,
Okay.
and we had the executive director of Gal Police in Bloom on last week.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind. I cover Gallia, Meigs, Mason, Jackson counties.
Okay.
The chambers of commerce, the community improvement corporations, economic development. I have the libraries, the chambers,
Okay.
all these different things. What's going on in the community, and
that's
people
wonderful.
call. So I usually try to stay booked about 3 months ahead.
Oh, I bet you
And
do.
of course, I've had you on, and you're going
It
to be
was-
on again.
I'd love to. Oh, it was so much
Oh,
fun.
we talked to the schools.
Okay,
And
good.
it's just everything.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That
I
is
love it.
wonderful. So, the two of us have had a chance to talk a great deal about your life and your
Yes.
fascinating career, and we've gotten a little taste of it so far. What other things, as you look back at your life and your future and all those things, tell us a little bit about, I think both, some of the highlights and things we haven't had a chance to talk about.
Okay.
And then also, we're also good, and we can save this for later in the show, but I really want us to know what's next for Marianne Campbell too. But let's just start
Just
with the
start.
past and kind of what are some things, there's a story that you had told me about how you use your hands.
Oh my! And you can see I still do that.
I love that story and
Oh.
about kind of your
When
father.
I was a little girl,
Yeah.
we lived in Pittsburgh, and we went to visit my grandmother. We would go to Route 19 to head for West Virginia. My grandmother lived at Horner, West Virginia, which is between Weston and Buchanan. And so you went down Chateau Street, which was the Italian neighborhood. And so my father, trying to get me not to use my hands quite so much, would say, I think they gave us the wrong baby at the hospital. I wonder where her real parents live. And of course, I thought that was really funny.
Right.
And then I have to say, my husband thought he would break me of talking with my hands, so he would say, if she'd sat on her hands, she couldn't open her mouth. So I don't sit on my hands.
That's wonderful.
But it's the way you express yourself. I'm sorry, but that's the way I am, and I can't change.
Right.
But that was fun. And speaking of my father, he taught me so much.
Yeah.
He is the one who said, you always have an education so you can put bread on the table. And that was why he had me go to business college, because he said if something ever happens, you can always hold down a job.
Right.
And then he told me, of course, I wanted to be a lawyer. From the time I was knee-high to a duck, I wanted to be a lawyer. And so that's why I had 3 majors at PCW. Economics, history, and speech, and I was 2 hours short of a major in math. I loved math, so I took every math course I could. Meanwhile, I was studying piano, and graduated from Wickersham School of Music in piano, and studied violin at Carnegie Tech and played in the Carnegie Tech Symphony Orchestra. First year, second violin.
Oh, wow.
I loved it.
Yes.
Yes.
No dull moments. You had a lot
No.
going on.
And then the other thing my father always taught me, he said, now thinking I was going to go ahead, and I was accepted at law school, but because of his death, I came to be here with my mother, and then when I met Bill and so forth,
Right.
but had the opportunity to start the radio station, which I
Oh.
never would have had if I'd been in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Anyway, it just meant so much to me that I had learned so much, and he had said, now just remember, when you get out in the world to be in a career, and if you're a lawyer, you learn to stand up, say what you have to say, and sit down. And I thought that was good. And then he said, the other thing, you have to, and this is one that I loved, you have to think like a man and act like a lady. And be professional at all times. And
Right.
that has kind of been my mantra.
I can see that. I can see that in everything you do. I mean, you are just the consummate professional, but you bring a sensitivity to what you do, and just
I love what I do, and I hope it shows.
It does. It
really
definitely
does.
shows.
It's a passion with me. PCW, though, was marvelous, because at the time I was there, my largest class would have 13 in it. And it was a girls' private school. We had a lot of special attention. And the economics, my econ professor was my most favorite because he would challenge us to think. And this is what my father had taught me was so very, very important. You have to learn to think things through and come up. And he would take the opposite side and in order for you to come back at him.
That's right. That's great. That's a good way to learn. Well, maybe, I know there are a lot of reasons why this university, this college is special to you, but maybe that's also a reason. We have small classes like that, and kind of maybe the same kind of experience that you had as a student, we try to create for our students here.
I know. And the fact that you have the community college on the campus. And way back when, I was involved when we got ready to start the community college in the fundraising campaign.
I didn't know that.
In order to convince people to put it on, you know, to vote on it and to vote positively and support it. It's the greatest opportunity for young people who live in Appalachia. I work with Foundation for Appalachian Ohio, and I'm past chair of that. And so they keep me on as a trustee, emeritus trustee, and I'm co-chair of the scholarship committee.
That's
so I
great.
just turned in all of my reports. You know, I have to analyze all of these. And you wouldn't believe how many people say if they can go to a community college, because then they can work ahead and save money to be able to go on and get their bachelor's after they get their associate degree.
Exactly. It's a wonderful way to start and to get everything moving in the right direction.
It's so important.
One of the
Education is vital.
Yes.
Years ago, if you had a skill, it was fine. But today, one of the first questions people ask you if you would be applying for a job is, do you have a college education and what did you major in?
Right. That's exactly right. It's very much like that. And I know that at Pennsylvania College for Women, you know, you talk about your experience there and how wonderful it was. And I know in 2008 you were honored as the distinguished alumna.
That was the most wonderful, exciting thing. I just couldn't believe it.
Oh, that's
a little girl from Gallia County, Ohio.
They're proud of you. They're very proud of you.
But you know, when my family moved, when my mother moved back here, and I became not a resident of Pittsburgh, but you know, permanent resident of Gallia County, they say, "Where's that?" So you'd explain 200 miles down the river from Pittsburgh.
That's good. That's a way to place it.
That's an easy way to do it.
It is. It is. You know, one of the things that we talked about too at the beginning, I mentioned that you are such a pioneer, and not only a pioneer in a lot of the things. I mean, you hold a lot of firsts. And that's a role model for a lot of people. I know you've inspired a lot of lives that way, but will you share with us some of those glass ceilings that you saw and that you know you burst through?
Well, I want to say first, pun on first, to be first is wonderful and it's very self-satisfying, but the whole point is that somebody's going to follow you. You open the door, the glass ceiling as you talked about that you go through. Here locally it was first on the Chamber of Commerce board and then first woman president, same on the CIC board. But in broadcasting, which of course was always my very first love, I was the first woman on the Ohio Broadcasters board and the first woman to be president of the Ohio Broadcasters. Then I was fortunately elected to be first woman on the National Association of Broadcasters board and then became president of the Broadcast Educators Association of the NAB. I was the first woman on the Radio Code board nationally. So and then was national president of American Women in Radio and Television. And I say that so other people know it can be done.
Yes.
All you have to do is make up your mind and work for it. That's another thing my father taught me. You can do anything if you work hard to do it.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, as I look at that list, impressive list of things, I'm blown away. And like you said, it's not just about being the first. It's what was started with that.
Because all women have followed.
Yes.
Women have followed in that. One thing I would like to say when you talk about, I've been very fortunate. People opened the doors for me. And not someone opens the door for you. You have to be ready to go through it. But somebody has to open it.
Right.
I've always said, and when different things happened or I received awards, there were 3 men in my life, and people kind of look at you. 3 men, yes. First, my father, who taught me everything, and I owe so much to him. And even though he's been gone all of these years, you know, almost 70 years, I still remember all the things he said. Secondly, when I came here to have John E. Halliday make it possible for me to be involved in the opening of the radio station when women weren't doing that then. Women were not in management.
Right.
And he is the one, and so I owe the beginning of my career and what it developed to be to Mr. Halliday. And then, of course, how fortunate I was to have the most wonderful, supportive husband. Bill Campbell was right there for me. He made me the most important part of his life, and it was my career that he so cared about. And I used to tease him and tell him he was like the peacock. Whenever something wonderful would happen to me, he would just, he thought that was really great. So many times men are not supportive,
Right.
but he was such a self-sufficient and such a secure man that he was there. He was also my best critic, too, and that's important.
It is.
That's very important.
Right, that's how you grow, and
That's
someone
how
you
you
trust
grow,
that much
yes.
to do
Yes.
that. That's wonderful.
So that's why I said there were 3 people who really were so important to me, and as I said, I was blessed.
Yeah.
All the way through my life, I've been blessed with everything that's happened.
And I'm glad those good works and those accomplishments have been recognized. And since I've known you, there are 2 things that stand out as far as the external kinds of awards and ways that you've been honored. And one of those is the 2014 Child of Appalachia Award.
I could not believe that one either. That was in Columbus, in the State House, in the Rotunda. There were like more than 400 people there. I just could not believe it.
Wow.
The most exciting thing was to have Nancy Lusk-Zimpher come back to make that award because she was one of the first Child of Appalachia, and Nancy and I were very close,
Yes.
as was also her sister Marianne,
Oh, wow.
and they were both there, and Nancy
Nice.
is the one who made the presentation, and that meant so much to me.
Oh, it's very special, very special,
Very,
and
very
so
special.
deserving. And then in 2015, the Chamber of Commerce gives a Volunteer of the Year award, and in 2015, they surprised you, I
Oh.
think, with this this plan and this decision to name the Volunteer Award after you.
I could not believe that either. That just really was, well, it was something that meant so much to me. It really touched me deeply that they would do that.
And it was shocked, as involved as you are in that event and helping kind of carve out how that event is going to flow, and the fact that they could slip something in like that on you, how perfect.
Because I thought I knew everything that was going to happen, but I didn't know that.
You did not know that.
And that was a wonderful, wonderful surprise.
Good.
But I want to make it clear, you are never successful unless other people are helping you. You do nothing on your own.
Oh.
It's because other people are there and make it possible for you.
That's so true, and I just, I feel that every day.
I do.
You know, there's nothing, that you do as an island and on your
No.
own. You know, it's these. It's
Some people say, oh, I did this all myself, and I think, no, somebody had to be there to help you.
Right.
You can't do it all on your own.
No.
You have to work hard at it, but
That's right.
someone made it possible for you to have the opportunity and the
Exactly.
challenge to do it.
Right. So we have to be ready for those opportunities.
Yes, we do.
And be ready to work with people to make those things happen. As I was saying, this week is so busy for us in our schedule of things going on, and so many great ceremonies, and we have a lot of recognition events for our graduates in their different programs and things like that this week. And I was at a pinning ceremony last night for our
For the nursing?
well, that's Friday, but so last night was our radiology program.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
those students were so wonderful. And we were talking a little bit about, we get advice sometimes, do what you love and follow your passions. And I think those are I love those words of wisdom. But we also were talking about how the other side of that is really, do what you love, but also do what contributes and what makes a
Yes.
difference for others. And that's really what I've seen in your life in so many ways.
The most important thing is to think positive. Think positive. Take advantage of all the opportunities that come along and be involved.
Right.
If you get involved in the community, you can do so much, and the community needs people to work for them. We have just exactly what we build.
Right. That's
And we have to work with it.
That's true. That's true. I think I can speak for a lot of people in this. But for those of you who know you and watch you, we marvel at the energy you have, whether you feel it or not. We marvel at it, and you bring that to so many projects and initiatives and causes that you support. I can't imagine that there are a lot of dull moments in your life.
There aren't. There really aren't.
No. So let's go back to that. I kind of led into this earlier. What's next for you? What's on the horizon?
Well, just to continue to do everything I can do for the community,
Mm-hmm.
to stay involved with the Chamber of Commerce, Community Improvement Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
Foundation for Appalachian Ohio, and particularly the French Art Colony,
Oh,
because
good.
that's one of our cultural centers here that we need to get more people involved in.
Great. And I hope that happens. More
I
and
do
more
too.
people know about it and can get involved in that. In closing, I always ask my guests to share some words of wisdom, and you've been so great about doing that through this whole broadcast, of just things that you've learned and things
Mm-hmm.
you've taken and tried to live by. But is there anything else that you would share with our listeners and our viewers about what's guided you, or kind of what, help us be better members of our families and our communities? Is there anything else you would share?
No, I think those two things that I mentioned, to be positive
Mm-hmm.
and to be involved, and it's all going to work out, and to work with people and to be kind to people. Yes.
Right. Oh gosh, that's such important,
Yes.
an important message for us. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going to be asking you to come back.
I'd love it.
So we'll see what has come next and how all of those initiatives and those things that you hold near and dear to
And
your
you're
heart.
going to be on Talk of the Town.
Okay, good. That sounds good.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Next week we have a full slate of programming. We have AgriTalk. I understand that Alan Sundermeyer will be the guest for that program next week, and Alan is an extension agent from Wood County. Also, we have Exposition. The hosts for that program are Mike Thompson and Valerie Thomas. So I'm sure that they will have a great program planned for next week. This show, The Voice of Rio Grande, will be hosted next week by our provost, Dr. Richard Sachs. He will have one of our faculty members as a guest, Rose Isgrig, and Rose will be sharing some information with us and some of her experience and vast knowledge related to Appalachian wildflowers and biology. So I know that there's a lot in store really for us to learn there. So again, please join us on Saturday, May 7th for graduation at 1 o'clock if you can. If it's not raining, we will be out on the campus green. If weather is not permitting us to do that, we'll be in Line Center. So we hope you can join us, and I'll look forward to seeing you again when I'm back on The Voice of Rio Grande.